Welcome back, everybody, to another exhilarating Courtroom episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. That's right, today we're traveling back into an Ohio courtroom to witness a defendant get sentenced for the killing of a Salvation Army worker. Jared Plasek was 21 years old at the time when he was fatally shot by William Jones in the lobby of his apartment complex. Plasek was recognized by community members for his devout faith and outreach work in the community. After the murder of Plasek, Jones went on a crime spree in Cleveland, Ohio, lasting 63 minutes. And this guy today is probably on the top 3 of individuals that's gotten smoked on this channel. When I say that, I'm speaking about how much time the individual gets. I couldn't even tally it all up, to be honest. But let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy and you're new, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today.
I'll be honest with you, that's not too often I find myself in my life that I'm at somewhat of a loss of words.
It doesn't matter what crime you're facing. If the judge says he's at loss for words, man, you're going to prison for some years.
As I pondered this sentencing over the weekend, I tried to myself make some sense of it. Those of us, I think, who work in this system tend to see the worst in society. And sometimes we get a little desensitized to those types of offenses. And then there comes a situation like this that comes around every once in a great while. It's really hard to wrap your head around, at least for me. When you talk about a senseless act of random violence, there's really no other words that come to my mind that describe this. I think senseless violence is almost, by definition, hard to understand. And somehow to attempt to justify the taking of Jared's life is really incomprehensible to me. With respect to the merger of counts in the indictment, I do find the following. Counts 1 and 2 will merge, and I think the state has already elected to proceed on count 1.
Correct, Your Honor.
Counts 3 and 7 would merge, and the state would elect to proceed on count 3.
Correct.
Counts 4 and 8 would merge, and the state would elect to proceed on count 4.
Correct.
Counts 12 and 17 merge, and the state would elect to proceed on count 17.
Correct.
Counts 14 and 19 would merge, and the state elects to proceed on count 14.
Correct.
Counts 15 and 20.
You skipped 13.
We always skip floor 13, sir. You know that.
13.
We forgot about that 13 again, huh, Your Honor?
13 would potentially merge with 18. Is that what we're talking about, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, so they're doing a lot of merging right now. You might not know exactly what that is, but when people have a lot of the same charges or maybe charges that are very similar, they'll merge them together and they'll roll with the one with the highest punishment. The purpose of merging crimes, or the merger doctrine, is to prevent a defendant from being punished twice for the same act, ensuring that they are only convicted and sentenced for the most serious offense, thus avoiding double jeopardy. The merger doctrine, a principle in criminal law, applies when a defendant commits a single act, key words here, that satisfies the definitions of 2 or more offenses. In such cases, the lesser offenses is absorbed into the greater offense, meaning the defendant can only be charged and punished for the more serious crime. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Merging of charges.
Yes.
Also, we would elect to go on count 12, not count 17. Count 12 is the attempted murder. Count 17 merges with that.
All right, let me go ahead and tidy that up for you, ma'am.
Which 18 merges with that, and then go ahead.
You back up one step then, so counts 12 and 17 merge, the state elects to proceed on 12. Counts 13 and 18 merge, the state elects to proceed on 14.
On 13?
I'm sorry, I said that again. So 13 and 18 merge, and state elects to proceed on 13. 14 and 19 merge, state elects to proceed on 14. 15 and 20 merge, state elects to proceed on 15. 16 and 21 merge, state elects to proceed on 21.
16, Your Honor.
On 16. Thank you. 34 and 35 would merge, and the state elects to proceed on 34.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. With respect to the firearm specifications, the court finds that the 1 year, 3 year, and 54-month firearm specification on each counts 1 through 21 would merge into a single 54-month specification for that particular count. And pursuant to revised code section 29.14B1E, I will dismiss the 1 year firearm specification on count 34. Court finds that the 5 year firearm specification in counts 12 through 21 would merge. After considering the overriding purposes and principles set forth in sections 29.11, I do find following and impose the following sentence. As to count 1, the 54-month on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of a life without the possibility of parole sentence. As to count 3, 54 months on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 9 years. As to count 4, 54 months on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 9 years. As to count 5, a 54-month sentence and the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 9 years. As to count 6, 54 months on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 9 years. As to count 9, 54-month sentence on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 36 months. As to count 10, 54 months on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 6 years.
I mean, I don't know where we're at.
As to count
Life,
11,
right?
54-month firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 6 years.
He's lucky the camera ain't on him, or else he'd be smoked out from here to Kingdom Come. But let's go ahead and take a quick little breather before we continue with this huge sentencing. It's time for a quick little courtroom analysis. This judge right here, ladies and gentlemen, is old school. I don't know if you can tell or not. Not an electronic device on his desk. Everything's in paper, even the calendar. That lamp right there comes from 1912. It used to be polished by children during the Great Depression for a half a loaf of bread. Rumor has it, though, with the inmates in the cell block, every time the judge sips his blue mug with the scales of justice, you're going to be looking at least 5 to 10 years. I don't know if it's true or not, but one thing I do know is true. Definitely some old school trim work here. Balignum vital, also known as ironwood, is a national tree of the Bahamas and is known for its high oil content. Alright, let's henceforth with the sentencing. We're about halfway through, I think, if I were to guess.
Be 54 months on the 54-month firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to 5 years on the 5-year firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 10 years. As to count 13, 54 months on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 6 years. As to count 14, a 54-month sentence on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 6 years. As to count 15, a 54 months on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 6 years. As to count 16, 54-month sentence on the firearm specification to run prior to and consecutive to a sentence of 6 years. As to count 23, it'll be a 12-month sentence. As to count 24, it'll be a 12-month sentence. As to count 25, it'll be a sentence of 24 months. The court also imposes a lifetime suspension upon your driving privileges. As to count 27, a sentence of 12 months. As to count 28, a sentence of 24 months. As to count 29, a sentence of 12 months.
I know as soon as they show
As to
him,
count
Bobby is
30,
going to
a sentence
smoke him.
Of 10 years.
Mm.
As to count 31, a sentence of 8 years.
Mm.
As to count 32, a sentence of 180 days. As to count 33, a sentence of 90 days. As to count 34, a sentence of 36 months.
Imagine him walking back in the holding tank and the inmate said, "How'd it go?"
In this situation, I do find that a consecutive sentence is necessary to protect the public from future crimes or to punish you. And that consecutive sentences are not disproportionate to the seriousness of your conduct and to the danger, truly, the danger that you pose to the public. Specifically, I find that you were on PRC when you committed these offenses. The crimes for which you were on PRC were offenses of violence involving firearms. That these offenses were committed as a part of a course of conduct, and that the harm caused by these multiple offenses so committed was so great or unusual that no single prison term for any of these offenses committed as part of the course of conduct would adequately reflect the seriousness of your conduct. Therefore, all the sentences that I've outlined will run consecutive to each other. One, I can give you the aggregate sentence, but I don't have that right in front of me. 5 years mandatory PRC. You'll be given credit for all time served. You'll be ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $4,774.55 to the Plessic family.
Bobby, I knew you'd kill. Wait to hit him with that,
And
Jerry.
an amount of $1,800 to Miss Altier. Anything else that we have to state?
Just to clarify, are the enumerated specific sentences concurrent or consecutive to the sentence of life without parole?
They are consecutive to the sentence of life without parole.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That man will never be seen in the streets ever again. He's going to be going to a high-level prison, probably like 23-1 by himself for the next 10 years. These type of situations definitely call for the death penalty, if you were to ask me. Senseless acts of violence, especially where someone lost their life for no reason whatsoever. That person, if you're to ask me, they should bypass any laws or rules in that state and they should go sit right on death row. But not every state has that, so we just got to hope for prison justice later on down the road for them. I'm out of here though, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. I got plenty more content coming your way. You're not going to believe some of these court cases I got. Until then, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.